By 1970, four companies controlled over 90% of what America ate for breakfast, and the Federal Trade Commission believed they had never once needed to sign an agreement, make a phone call, or meet in a smoke-filled room to do it. The most successful cartel in American food history may have operated entirely in plain sight. The story begins in Battle Creek, Michigan, a small city that became, improbably, the cereal capital of the world. In the 1890s, John Harvey Kellogg was running a sanitarium, a health retreat for the wealthy, when he accidentally invented a flaked grain product he believed would cure the moral and digestive ills of the American public. His brother Will saw a business. They disagreed violently about sugar. Will won. Will Kellogg added sugar to the flakes, launched a national advertising campaign, and turned a health product into a consumer obsession almost overnight. The timing was extraordinary. America was urbanizing rapidly. Women were entering the workforce. Nobody had time to cook a proper breakfast anymore. A box you could open, pour, and be done with in 4 minutes was not just convenient, it felt like progress. Within 2 decades, competitors had moved into Battle Creek by the dozens. Most failed, but 4 survived and quietly divided the country between them: Kellogg's, General Mills, Post, and Quaker Oats. What happened next is what the FTC would spend years trying to prove, and ultimately fail to prosecute. These 4 companies, regulators argued, had built a shared monopoly without ever formally colluding. The mechanism was elegant in its simplicity. Rather than compete on price, which would have eroded margins for everyone, they competed exclusively on branding. Every dollar went into advertising, into new shapes, into cartoon mascots and prize toys tucked inside boxes. Tony the Tiger debuted in 1952. The Trix Rabbit followed. Captain Crunch arrived in 1963. Each one was a small psychological operation aimed specifically at children, who would then perform the critical service of begging their parents at the grocery store. The economics of this arrangement were remarkable. Because none of the 4 ever meaningfully cut prices, the entire category held artificially high margins for decades. A box of cereal in 1970 cost roughly 4 times what the raw grain inside it was worth, a markup that would have been impossible in a genuinely competitive market. The companies understood that if one of them dropped prices, the others would follow, and everyone would lose. So no one did. They didn't need a handshake. Saturday morning television became the primary battleground, and it was entirely their invention. By 1975, American children were watching an average of 4 hours of cartoons every weekend, and roughly half the advertising in those slots was for sugared breakfast cereal. The 4 companies spent an estimated $500 million annually on television advertising alone. Parents who had never questioned what their children ate for breakfast were now operating inside a system these companies had architected from the ground up. And then came the masterstroke that would protect the industry for another generation: the health claim. Beginning in the late 1970s and accelerating through the 1980s, cereal boxes began appearing with nutritional language lifted almost verbatim from genuine science. High fiber, heart healthy, part of a complete breakfast. The phrase "part of a complete breakfast" is worth a moment of attention. It is technically true of almost any food on earth, and it committed the manufacturer to nothing whatsoever. The FTC had seen enough by 1972. A landmark complaint argued that Kellogg's, General Mills, Post, and Quaker had maintained a shared monopoly through a combination of brand proliferation, advertising barriers, and coordinated pricing behavior, without any provable explicit agreement. The case was extraordinary because it tried to prosecute a structure, not a conspiracy. Regulators argued the market itself had become the mechanism of control. The case dragged on for 9 years. It was finally dismissed in 1982. The administrative law judge found that while the industry was clearly concentrated, there was insufficient evidence of deliberate anti-competitive conduct. The companies had not technically broken any law. What they had done was build walls so high, through advertising spend, through retail shelf space agreements, through the sheer number of SKUs they controlled, that no outside competitor could afford the entry ticket. The collapse, when it came, was not a scandal. It was something quieter and more interesting. It was demographic. The millennial generation, coming of age in the 1990s and 2000s, simply ate breakfast differently. Yogurt, smoothies, avocado toast, protein bars, the entire cultural meaning of the morning meal shifted. Cereal volumes began declining in the early 2000s and have not meaningfully recovered. By 2015, Kellogg's was running advertisements trying to remind adults that cereal existed. The deeper lesson of the cereal monopoly is not about antitrust law or even about food. It is about the architecture of consent. For 60 years, these four companies did not force anyone to buy anything. They shaped the environment. The television children watched, the claims printed on boxes, the physical layout of every grocery store in America, until the choice to eat their product felt like no choice at all. It felt like breakfast. That is a different kind of power than a monopoly in the traditional sense. It is the power to define normal, and the four companies that held it never lost it to a regulator or a rival. They lost it to time, to culture, to a generation that had simply grown up watching different screens. The empire did not fall. It became irrelevant, which, for something that once owned the morning, may be the